So, Victor, hello.
Hello.
How are you
You good,
today?
yeah?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
good.
alright. I'm alright.
I see that
I'm not too bad. I'm just here.
the quarantine life has been blessing your skin. It's looking
I
smooth.
mean,
It's looking
yeah, man.
moisturized. It's
Yeah,
looking
man. I can't
hydrated.
lie.
So, we're here today to talk about your poem Uncommon Belief,
Hmm.
as aired on Boxed In.
Come on.
Shout out to Victor Salfong and shout out to Boxed In
Yeah,
for
big up
that
Buxton, man.
platform.
Big up Buxton. Obviously, they're doing the live thing now. I've been before, but they have to. I mean, everyone's trying to do this live thing, so it was good to jump on, man. I thought, yeah, let me go there. Yeah.
And I think it's important anyway in this time as a creative to almost like stay relevant for yourself and still get yourself out there even when everyone's literally boxed in.
100.
So it's quite ironic
Yeah, it's
that the platform happened to be boxed in
that's
during a
true.
time like
Do you
this.
know what? I don't know. There's this whole narrative about like, use this time to relax if you need to, but really and truly, it's a good time to create, but it's also a good time to put yourself out there since everyone's kind of in the same room, if the room is the internet. So yeah,
They say that they've been telling us the truth, but a truth is not the truth if you mislead the people into believing what is favorable, what's best for our country, innit? Because no one wants to see another riot. Conservative opinions, creating the illusion of cooperation, because a good con artist can never give you a reason to panic.
Going back to Uncommon Belief, first of all, did you write this poem recently? Like, when did you write it?
um, I wrote it during the last election. Yeah, yeah. Most for the most part, apart from a couple of lines, I wrote it during the last election. Um, well, to be honest, there's a lot that I've been sitting on actually, but I thought that poem in particular, I thought yeah, it's a good time to bring that out and put it out there because of everything that's going on in terms of Miss Rona and the government's response to it, and certain world leaders doing certain things while certain others aren't. So I thought, yeah, let me bring this one out just to keep people on their toes and get people thinking, man.
I realised there were a couple of lines that directly related to Corona,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm amazed that all of it kind of fits into this wider narrative of how Britain functions under the Conservative Party.
yeah.
And you're right, it's timeless. These politics are timeless. We've had like Conservative rule for years before this, and we'll probably hopefully not, but probably have conservative power in this country afterwards. And I think your words will always be
Yeah,
relevant in
100%.
that
Yeah.
sense. But just for the people who haven't heard the poem, can you give us a general summary of what it's about? Like, if you could only describe it in one sentence.
Ooh, one sentence. I guess uncommon belief is. I guess it's an outlook on the conservative hand over the people of the country currently. That's probably how I'd sum it up and my take on it. Um, whatever you think about the Conservative Party, just in general, um, I think this particular government has done things that have been quite oppressive, and they've taken a lot of missteps in terms of things that benefit them and not the general public. And I really wanted to kind of hone in on that because I think there are a lot of things that people say but don't say as often as they should. So I thought, yeah, let me put something together to kind of articulate that. This was one of those poems as well, which was written pretty much all at once, um, which I don't know. I tend to prefer those ones because those are the ones that are a bit more concentrated in terms of what's happening at that moment. It's a bit like a snapshot or a screenshot of what's happening in the world. So yeah.
Do you think in your artistic process in general, you tend not to write poems all at once? Because that's something I'm quite interested in. I always write my poems in one go. I will sit down for 4 hours straight, brainstorm, and then like get it finished. I struggle to separate it, but does it work for you? And like, what does it add to your poetry when you take breaks?
Um, I think it depends on the piece. It depends on what I'm trying to articulate at the time. And the thing is with poetry, yeah, or the way I write anyway, sometimes it's there's something that I need to write about now. This is happening in the world and this is how I want to kind of articulate it. But sometimes also you want to say something a bit more complex with the words that you're speaking. And with those, you have to really think about, okay, what am I saying? How am I going to say it? You know, which metaphors, what pieces of imagery am I going to use? What aspects of the real world am I going to use? And even now, with how I'm trying to incorporate sound into my work, now I have to think about, okay, which sounds am I going to put in? You know, what ad libs can I take from here and there and put it all together? So with those poems, yeah, it takes a lot longer to put it together because you're thinking about not just your words, but the whole kind of experience.
Bar breakdown.
Seems like you only acknowledge us when you mention the NHS.
Who is us when you say us, and like where has this come from?
Us is the people, right? So us is the people that have to, you know, the 99% basically. That's us when I'm saying that. You know, there's people who, obviously, everyone respects and loves the NHS in this country, yeah. Thing is, not everyone uses it, and not everyone, because of its strain, etc., not everyone would take the principles of the NHS and apply them to other areas of life. So when I say us in that sentence, I'm talking about how certain political leaders will kind of weaponize the NHS.
And that leads on to one of the lines that you said in your poem, which I think it brought out a lot of like, I want to say disgusting imagery, but more so it like my general response to it was like recoiling because of the way it was written. And I just wanted to ask where the imagery came from, but it was...
And pats the back of the powerful so they feel empowered to show their power to the powerless who have to scratch the back of power just to find a piece of it in their fingertips.
And I love that line. I think it's my favorite line out of the whole poem because I when I heard it, I thought, oh, like it's quite disgusting to imagine like pieces of flesh kind of falling out in the hands of people who are reaching for power. But it also kind of like invokes this feeling of this very violent world that we're living in, and this very like quite unhygienic and like disgust filled world where we are literally like mutilating each other for the sake of power. In some
100%.
ways that means this causes deaths literally in this situation, and in some ways it's just like very much emotional pain and exploitation caused by people who have power. So I wanted to ask where the imagery came from.
I mean, I can't say it came from a particular place. You know, like sometimes you write things and, you know, they're from things that you've seen in the world or experienced in the world. But for that, I can't say it came from a particular image that I've seen, but just in the way that people grasp for power, especially when you don't have it, you know, just in abundance, just sitting in your lap. I think that's often how you have to get it, really and truly.
And another line that you had, which I think links like directly to this idea of power and this idea of having to reach out to people, whether that be from below or reaching up to people. But one of the lines was,
capitalism is always fine when it wears the face of those who want it. Power is always safe when it wears the face of those who are watching.
Can you explain this? And what is the subtext for it? Because I thought it's such an interesting line. Like it seems like it's intricately put together.
100%. I mean, yeah, with that line in particular, I thought about that one before I wrote it. Like, yeah. But you see in life, yeah, you're more likely to, you know, say yes to something or agree with something when it comes from someone that's like you, or someone that's been through what you've been through, or someone that looks like you, or someone you can relate to just on any level. Whether what they are saying or doing is right or wrong, that's just life.
This nicely segues into the final question, which is from one of your lines, that this is a chance to rethink our systems, and this is the way you ended your poem. And I wanted to ask, what would be an ideal response to COVID-19 after this, during this, in this world that that is more ideal, what would be the best response to COVID-19? And what would a reformation of the political system in the UK from this point look like to you in this ideal world? So if after COVID-19 we were like, okay, this isn't working, obviously there are so many holes, this has exposed the neoliberalism and the like hyper-capitalism in this country, what do you think would be the first reform that we would need for this political system?
That is a big question. I think
it is a big question.
I don't know if I can give you a direct answer, because it depends. Do you know what? It does depend on how it pans out. And I say that because it's funny. Oh, who tweeted this? I can't remember. Someone tweeted, and I couldn't agree more. Someone tweeted that God is using the Conservatives to do everything they didn't want to do. And to an extent, that's true, because obviously they're housing the homeless. They are, you know, testing everyone irregardless of, or they're trying to test everyone irregardless of who they are. You know, their benefits, they're expanding food banks, etc., etc. These are all things that go against, you know, hardcore conservatism. I think that obviously this is unprecedented, is going to shake up the world. It has shaken up the world in ways that I don't think it's been shaken up before, you know, especially like none of us saw this coming. I think that the things that are put in place now will stay in place to an extent, in the sense that, you know, some of the measures like food banks, expanded benefits, you know, making sure that everyone is comfy. I think there'll be a lot more of an emphasis on that. You could call it utopian. Yeah. You could call it utopian in the sense, because obviously for everyone, it's not utopian for everyone, but it will definitely be, I think whoever's in power is definitely going to have to be more considerate, 100%, of everybody, regardless of who they are, 100%.
How come it needs the ideas of the opponents it buried to rise out of the ashes and save everyone like a phoenix? Maybe this is our chance to rethink our systems. That's me.
Well, thank you, Victor, for featuring on this Flow Fridays interview episode, which will have also a nice fancy name probably after I've edited this. So